Welcome, I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher, from our BizVision studios in the UK. You're watching the BVTV network. Now, I've been fortunate to have previously interviewed a couple of people from my guest's company, and I've been mightily impressed with them both on their knowledge and their commitment to their company purpose. That says something to me and something special about the business. And that something special nearly always comes from the top. So today, that's where I'm going. It's Cloud Stratex to have a chat with Adrian Overall. Welcome, Adrian.
Hi, Malcolm. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, it's great to be chatting to you now. You have to tell everybody where you are. You're in a beautiful part of the country, aren't you?
Yeah, I live just outside Mountain Mowbray in a small village called Hickling, which is in the Vale of Belvoir, which is a spectacular part of the East Midlands.
Yes, I understand. I know down there. And I'm safely isolated in Northumberland. So let's get on. Before we get into the meat of our meeting, tell us about Cloud Stratex. What is it that you do and who do you do it for?
Yeah, thanks. Well, we started the business back in March 2019. And I think, we saw a gap in the market, which was really about the fact that next generation technology was being adopted by our clients, but wasn't really being leveraged. So we came up with a number of sort of KPIs and USPs around operational integration of next generation technology, enabling the business benefits, enabling the clients to get the most out of it. And what we were seeing is the industry as a whole was somewhat sort of preoccupied with the kind of the get to, but not with the what do you do with it once it's there. Yes. And as usual, we see this jet wash that existed, and so clients were asking us to ask us how they could leverage and get the benefits that they were promised. And I think that's why we started the business, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, I've just following on from that. I've got a personal grouse in a way about technology companies that are just out there to sell the equipment and leave the client there wondering, what have I got this box for?
Yeah, I think that's kind of part of the game, isn't it, really? I think there's no doubt that there are a lot of sort of box shifting mindsets out there. I think when you've been around the block a bit, and I've worked for many companies that have to go and sell this type of way, you kind of wake up one morning and you think, well, I know many clients are not getting the best out of it. They're not making the most out of it. They're frustrated. They realize that they need to improve, get better, leverage, but they're somewhat always left a little bit, hanging there. So, yeah, there's no doubt that there's a big market opportunity for companies that are kind of emotionally intelligent enough to sort of understand the client and get into their thought process around how do we use this and how do we get better and how do we drive our own self-sufficiency, so as that we can take control of our own destiny as this becomes more important to our businesses.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Now, Adrian, I pride myself on my grey hair experience of spotting a company of difference. I'm not talking about what you do here, but who you are as a business. Tell me about your thinking on purpose, vision, and values at Cloud Stratex.
Yeah, I think these are very important. I think no doubt last year taught us a lot about the fact that we need to have a sense of togetherness. I think that the team that we have would all say to you, Malcolm, that they feel very much part of a strong, inclusive culture. I think we try very hard to make life at Cloud Stratex, a wonderful place to work. We also push ourselves very hard, and I think people like to be operating in an environment that stretches them, but also gives them the support and pastoral care that they need. I think alongside that, we know that the war for talent out there is brutal, and we know that we have to be able to demonstrate that we're very different and we have a different way of thinking, and that we offer alternative path to what I would say is a classic sort of company culture. So we work very hard in a charity partnership with Centrepoint. We have our talent academy. We have our women in IT network. Our Strataspire. We have all of these things that demonstrate our thinking around making sure that we have an inclusive and diverse way of working. And I think these all, in summary, these all add up to some really nice things that make being part of Cloud Stratex the thing that it is.
Yeah, I want to stay on that subject matter there, Adrian, if you don't mind, because I think it's important that we pull it out so that people can understand, because the technology sector is a cluttered sector. So standing out from others, making a difference, may not be seen as easy. So just remind us again what you think are the key points that where Cloud Stratex stands out.
Well, I think firstly, we are ultimately a client-side organization. I think anyone that knows us and has sort of followed us, personally in our careers will know that, we always do the right thing for our clients. And I think that is somewhat in opposition to perhaps a more faceless, large corporation where perhaps some of that gets lost and diluted. So number one, we will never do anything that compromises our client relationship. I think the other thing is we've set out to go on a journey here, which is accepting that the market has moved on and that these new technologies are all about giving our clients competitive advantage. Some of the sort of older school companies out there that will be looking at, how do we do it to our client or for our client, are probably missing the point that these technologies are there designed to make it easier for our clients to engage and adopt these technologies. And so our big push is on self-sufficiency. And I think when you have a chance to start a business, the first thing you have to look at is what you're going to cannibalize, whether you're Michael Dell cannibalizing, the reseller market when he took on HP or many other companies that have built cannibalization into their core business proposition. I think we look at self-sufficiency as being a real value add, and our stated intent is to help clients get better. Yes. And leverage this technology and use it for the good of their businesses versus kind of having this somewhat sort of ambiguous gray area where they're not really sure what they've got, but they think they need it. And that to me are those are the two things. I mean, I suppose the final thing I suppose we should say is that we know that this operational integration story is one that's got plenty of legs. Our clients aren't expert at how to use these technologies, and we wonder somehow why the community at large isn't spending a lot of time thinking about how best to operate and leverage this technology. But I think there's the game we're in, which is sell more to clients, and perhaps some of that behavior needs to change out there, and we hope to be at the vanguard of that.
Yeah. I think that's why, we've had this big change as well, especially in procurement and purchasing. And now it's a lot more about not what you do, but who you are that really, really counts. Many people see technology as an evil, intrusive, too powerful, planet harming, and so on. And also, security issues are a major concern. I believe, though, it can be a force for good. Do you agree? And how at Cloud Stratex do you go about delivering that for both yourself and your clients?
Yeah, I'm under no illusion about what technology can be useful for good and bad. I mean, I fundamentally believe that without technology, we would be somewhat not the human race that we are today. And there is no doubt that during the pandemic, we've seen how technology has been a huge enabler and a force for good. And there will always be sections of our society that I'm sure will seek to leverage technology for things that really shouldn't be used for. I mean, our view is that we move on. The world moves on, the human race moves on, and I'm a great believer that we have to find innovative ways to solve problems and to search out answers to challenging questions, and technology makes a huge dent in helping us to solve for those things. So I think we, in our small part, will take on that mantle. I mean, we can't claim to be Elon Musk, who wants to put populations on Mars, but I think in our small way, we see that there are a number of definite deficits in the way in which technology is being adopted, and it's not necessarily always for the good of our clients, or they're not making the most out of it, not getting the best of it. And I think as an organization, when clients work with us, they can see in our eyes there's an honesty and there's a philosophy in our business that really fits with how they want to feel about their businesses, which is do what you can with what you've got, do more than what you can do, go beyond your limitations, you remove some of those boundaries, and technology is a key enabler for that. And I think that's part and parcel of why we're here and why we want to do these types of businesses.
Yeah, it's almost like putting a bit of pastoral care into your clients as well, isn't it? Because obviously they're having to undergo change. Yeah,
definitely. We want to be seen as that type of business that, with a go-to company when, you've got something challenging, you've got something which is a little bit tough, and they really want honest, practical help from people that, have got a genuine interest in helping them solve that problem. And I think that's us.
Yeah. It's fascinating, Adrian, that, on August the 6th, it's the 30th anniversary of the first ever web page, which is incredible what's happened in 30 years, isn't it? But I believe that too many IT companies fold or fail to deliver their customers because of poor leadership. Often they're started by IT enthusiastic entrepreneurs. We call them digitalpreneurs, nothing wrong with that. But they don't step over into being business leaders as the business grows. Clients want stability from their supplier, along with transparency and surety. Do you agree? And how have you managed this challenge at Cloud Stratex?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And, I don't want to pour water. And there's been some fantastic technically based businesses out there that have worked miracles. But you're right. A lot of these, these companies kind of miss the point. And I very much talk about this, to our team all the time, which is it's our people that make the difference, and we work for our people. So if you're a leader in our business, our job is to work for our our staff, and I think that's what leadership is these days. I think it's got to, our people need to look at us and realize that there is no false hierarchy, there is no sense of entitlement. There's a genuine belief and a relentless pursuit of trying to move forward and drive this business into a place that is, really outstanding. I ask all of our team to be brilliant every day. You don't wake up in the morning, just keep turning up, keep walking through the door, because sometimes that's all that's needed. But, don't wake up and be half-hearted, but, throw yourself into things. And that commitment and that attitude is something that I've lived my life by. Yeah. And, I think attitude beats acumen. There's no doubt in my mind that we recruit on attitude. And so I think a lot of businesses are very preoccupied with the what. And I just don't think that's enough. I think the what is a little bit of the, dreamer territory. There's no doubt in my mind that working hard and your people seeing you work hard and knowing that you care deeply about them and our clients is the recipe for success, and being consistent in that message. Yes. And ensuring that you never lose sight of that, and loving what you do is really important. So, I genuinely wake up loving this. I can't see myself doing anything else. Yeah. And I love talking about it. I'm passionate about it. And I want to share that. So, I'm hoping that you go and talk to the team and they will say to you that is what helps them.
Yeah. Well, of course, I did talk to the team before I talked to you, which is a good way around, isn't it?
Yes.
And you're right. No, just before, oh, by the way, some of those things you were saying there are almost old school, because I grew up, Kipling's 7 Serving Men, in the what, where, when, and I grew up knowing about that 90% of success is turning up. That's another well-known saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite exciting in a way that there's lots of new things happening, but old's still around. Now, just before we move on to the next question, Adrian, I'd like to remind viewers and listeners of your website URL. Now, for viewers, you can see it's on the screen behind me, cloudstratex.com. But for listeners to our podcast, let me spell that out for you. All the W is obviously Cloud, and then Stratex is Stratex, cloudstratex.com. Adrian, Harvard University reckons that one of the biggest challenges for IT providers is convincing a doubting board of directors or the C-suite. I can understand that. As doubters, IT warps itself into almost an impenetrable language. The board wants simplicity, transparency, truth, if it's ever to make that big digital transformation decision. Do you agree with Harvard thinking? And how do you at Cloud Stratex make things understandable at all levels within a client company?
Yeah, I do completely agree. And I think it's the big gap between, hopefully where we are and where perhaps some of our competitors are. I think the ability to make complex messages consumable for people that are time poor and have a lot on their plates is something that we pride ourselves in. So the idea that you can take some quite highly technical and complex hypotheses or solutions or requirements and expect people to understand it. These are bright people, but even they will struggle. So I think a lot of our time is spent helping educate our stakeholders and our clients and say, you have to make this message consumable. You have to put it in a language that someone's going to understand. These are bright, super clever people, but they're not IT experts. They don't understand, all of the acronyms that we come up with, and they want it put in plain English or language of choice, and they want it turned into, what does it mean for them?
Yeah.
What does it mean for their business? And how does this translate into something that is genuinely relevant? And I think a lot of people just get caught up in that, and there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, there's a lot of tech speak that frankly just leaves me cold and leaves these people cold. And then what that does is that puts IT in a box. And that box is it's a difficult place because you're pigeonholed then. And then what happens is someone then goes to the board and, perhaps from a third party, starts speaking their language. And suddenly you have a top-down board initiative that the IT guys go, well, wait a second, that's exactly what we were saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, look, we help you. So we talk to our clients, we help translate, their kind of needs at a, technical level and say, right, we're going to put this in a language that your board understands. We're going to help you build a business case that's real, that a CFO is going to look at and not have to ask all sorts of, what I would say are basic questions because you've forgotten to include certain things that are obvious to a CEO, CIO, CFO, but perhaps not so obvious to you. Most of the people we meet at board level are just super people. Yeah. But they just don't necessarily get the level of, I would say, service from IT that perhaps they deserve as critical stakeholders to the future, not only of the IT department, but to their business. And so I think there's a little bit of technical superficiality that exists when people communicate. So at Cloud Stratex, we have a mandate, in our business to say, look, we will help take your messages to these people. We'll help them consume your content in a way that's relevant to them, and that should help you. So, that's something that I think, we live and die by in the business, and I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think knowing boards as I've done, and I'm chaired executive boardroom, I can see that's very fresh thinking and will be absorbed by so many directors. I've talked to directors in the past and I said, well, why did you make the decision to buy that stuff? Well, I didn't really understand it. I didn't want to look stupid.
Yeah, and they're the least stupid people on the planet. I think that's the funny thing, and this humility that most of these senior execs have, and I think is a force for good, and the IT guys should be embracing that and respecting it and saying, they're not stupid. They just haven't been in IT for 20 odd years doing stuff. But I think there is there's a gap there, and a reality gap. And I think it's important that we help people translate and become that universal translator to help them, get these messages upstairs, if you like.
Now, Adrian, this next question should be rather easy for you, because you've got a nice dark background from behind you. It's time for your crystal ball.
Okay.
Technology is moving fast. 9 years in just 9 months, says McKinsey. Where do you think technology will be in, say, well, let's just do 5 years' time? Will companies be backtracking to solve legacy problems through too fast adaptation during these challenging times? Or will it all be okay? Or do you see that we're going to see the fast advancement we've seen in 2020 alone? Go on, have a peer into Adrian's crystal ball for us.
It's a tough question. I think, firstly, there's no doubt in times of toughness on the human race, technology accelerates, and I think that they make a very good point. I think we see our industry is very cyclical, and there's no doubt that we have seen jumps, not of the level of sophistication that we see now, but we've seen those jumps before. And I remember looking at the levels of complexity that those jumps created in these organizations, because we were never really able as an industry to completely move forward on all fronts. So, the proliferation of systems, the mainframe to open systems to Windows to Linux, even just at the infrastructural level, left a huge long tail of stuff out there. So I always believe that there's going to be an element of picking apart and trying to move the legacy forward. And of course, the cycles that our businesses that we work for, those cycles are not short cycles. People make this, in many different industries, make investment decisions for 10 years. And whether you're a water company or you're a manufacturing company, those types of companies have to make significant capital investments that they forward think for 10 years. But so I always believe that whilst the technology is there, the companies will only go as fast as they can go in the context of their own businesses. I do hope that, a lot of this technology we're seeing now becomes, a force for critical enablement of next generation businesses, and gives the sort of legacy businesses the opportunity to reinvent themselves somewhat. It's very hard if you're an insurer and you have, legacy systems, you're still working on paper, to suddenly reinvent yourself overnight. And but I do think that some of the efficiency savings you gain by leveraging some of this technology give you enough sort of money to invest in doing some out of band investment around actually fundamentally changing some of the underlying application and infrastructure in your business. So, my view is I think these business cycles will shorten. There was clearly some outlier examples. I think they will shorten, and I think we'll see new entrants, and I think we'll see rapid adoption of these next generation businesses. I think we'll see market consolidation. I always take a look at the market we're in, which is IT, and you look at the big vendors, and if you think about the amount of change that we've undergone in that marketplace, Dell, EMC joining forces, it's a huge market dynamic they've created there. And if you look at then, how the cloud vendors like AWS and Microsoft are going to have to respond to that, you can see some polarization beginning to happen in this marketplace, which, hopefully gives clients, better choice, more complete access to solutions, and gives them the opportunity to innovate as well. So I think, for me, we'll see business cycles kind of getting shorter. I think we'll still see this legacy tail exist. I think that the birth of businesses now we'll see an acceleration based on these technologies, and hopefully in 5 or 6 years' time, the human race will be better off for it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'll just peer into my crystal ball, with all the interviews we've been doing, but in particular, the document that was issued last week by the government called Global Britain in a Competitive Age, and where we're looking at Indo-Pacific tilt to working with companies in Australia, Japan, Thailand and Vietnam and so on, and particularly Nigeria, where I've just been interviewing this last week there. I see a great need for those companies that have got the new efficiencies that Cloud Stratex are helping them with, now then start to say, right now, how do I get into all these new markets that are now so accessible to me? In particular, now, well, since we've left Brexit, do you think that's going to be something that's in people's focus?
I think the barriers to entry into new markets is they're getting broken down every day by technology, and I think that's one of the things. You either accept that and you play your part in that, or you fight it. And I think I don't believe in fighting anything like that. I'm a great believer in making the best of where you are and trying to plan for the future based on these new paradigms that are coming. And I think I do get worried when I talk to peers in other companies, larger companies than ours, that are holding on a little bit to the past and telling me that it's going to be 15, 20 years before, it really makes a difference to them. And I sit there with my head in my hands a little bit and go, well, that may be well and good, but you should never, ever write off the opportunity to plan and think through all of the scenarios.
Yeah.
If I tell you what I do during my day, I spend most of my day scenario planning in my head of all the things that could happen.
Yeah.
And I find that is immensely powerful when I'm talking to our teams about how they should respond to certain challenges and situations in their clients and how our clients are having to react. And I'm not saying that they're putting their heads in the sand and saying, nothing to see here. I'm saying that I think it's part of your armory as a CEO. You've got to go out there and don't close any doors. No. Don't be blind to what's in front of you. Even if, at the end of the day, it's not something that perhaps you're going to consider, you've got to know about it. Yeah. So I think it's really important. It's really important. And I think to think like that is to think truly around where your business is going, what are you going to do? Do we want to go into new markets as a company, as ourselves? Where do we go?
Yeah.
Talent. The biggest challenge we have, where are the big talent pools?
My yesterday's interviewee was second one, a famous expert and famous book, would say Saudi Arabia would welcome your style of thinking. It's not going to be easy. COVID's still around. And as you say, some people have still got their head in the sand, but there's sunshine ahead, I'm sure. What's your message to my business leader viewers as to how to reach out for that sunshine and have a great 2021?
Well, first of all, keep turning up for your people.
Yes.
They are everything to you. So there is no doubt in my mind that what makes us a special business is the people that come to work for us every day. So number one priority is keep turning up for them. Keep walking through the door. Show some humility, show some empathy. Everyone has a story to tell as part of the pandemic, and be approachable. This is no time to sit in the corner and kind of do your thing. This is about being accessible and open and showing the way, and helping them walk out into the light. And I think with that type of mindset, you can do anything. You can conquer anything. I always worry about looking behind me and think, is there anyone there? I don't have to worry because I know they're there. And as long as you have that trust partnership with the people that work in the team and work with you every day, you're going to be fine.
Great. Great. Adrian Overall, thank you very much indeed for talking today, not only about Cloud Stratex, but the importance of what's within the company and the difference that you and your team are making. I thank you very much indeed for a great interview.
That's great, Malcolm. I really appreciate your questions. I thought they were very insightful and I very much enjoyed answering them. So it was a real pleasure.